I'm Kathy Bechtel with Italiaoutdoors Food and Wine, and today we're making meat ravioli with a brown butter sauce. We made pasta sheets earlier today, just as they do in Italy, right here in this kitchen. For our meat ravioli, I like to use a selection of meats. I don't like to use just beef. I like to mix it up. This is a combination of beef and pork. I've browned this already on the stove with a little bit of pancetta, so it's about 1 pound of mixed meats. Beef, pork, lamb, use whatever you want, 2 ounces pancetta, and 2 tablespoons butter. And again, I've browned this on the stove. Since the pasta cooks really quickly, the meat will not have time to cook in the pasta. Okay, we're ready to finish off our filling. We're going to put the sauteed beef and pancetta into the food processor, and we're just going to pulse it a couple of times to mix it up. Make it nice and small, make it we just want it chopped up very finely, but we don't want to puree it. So here we go. And we're going to combine that with a 1/4 cup grated Parmesan cheese, 1 egg, a little pinch of nutmeg. You want to be careful on how much you use. It can overwhelm. And then maybe season with a little salt and a little pepper. And we're just going to combine that. Okay, it's all mixed in. And we're going to take our homemade pasta sheets. We made these earlier today. And we're going to make our ravioli. So right now I'm just eyeballing the squares. I'm going to make a nice square ravioli, and I'm just figuring out the size of my squares based on my pasta sheet. So I'm marking them off with a knife, just kind of cutting a little slit into the pasta dough so I can tell the borders of my squares. And I open up my sheet. And I have a spoon somewhere there. I'm going to take a little spoonful of the filling and put it in the center of each of my ravioli. Just like that. And now I use a little egg wash. This is going to help make a good seal around the edges. We want to make sure our ravioli are closed up tight and squeeze out as much air as possible, otherwise they kind of explode sometimes while you cook them. So we make sure each edge of the ravioli has a little bit of egg wash on it. And then we're going to fold over the dough and seal the edges and seal around each little spoonful of filling. And what you want to do is try and squeeze out as much air as possible around each of the little spoonfuls of filling. And then you can take a knife or a fancy pasta cutter if you have one and cut your raviolis into squares. Maybe trim off a little bit of the crooked edge if you wish. I don't mind mine being rustic looking. I like them to look homemade rather than coming out of a machine and buying in the store. And I'm just doing a final check all around to make sure that they're all sealed up tight and squeeze out as much air as possible. And there we have our meat ravioli. And I've got it on a sheet pan there with some semolina flour on it to keep them from sticking. I've moved over to the stove with the meat raviolis we've just made, and we're going to make a browned butter sauce to serve them in. This is a very simple sauce, and this would be you would be more likely to see this in Italy than a red sauce. Here in the United States, a lot of people think of Italian food as always having a marinara or some sort of red sauce on it, but actually it's not that common in many parts of Italy. So in Emilia-Romagna, you would more commonly see this served just as we are now with a simple brown butter sauce. So I'm going to melt, this is half a stick of butter, 4 tablespoons. I'm melting over medium-high heat. And then when this melts, we're going to cook it after it melts in order to brown it. And you will see the milk solids in the butter will begin to turn brown and nice and nutty flavored. We want to keep a close eye on it because we don't want to burn it, but we want to get that nice brown nutty flavor in our sauce. And in the meantime, I've brought a large pot of water to boil on the back burner here. That has a good amount of salt added to it. Your pasta water should always be fairly salty, almost like seawater. So here our butter's melting nicely, and it will begin to bubble and then brown. So we're going to bring the sauce, we're going to cook it pretty much all the way through because our raviolis are going to cook quite quickly. Since they're nice and fresh pasta, they'll only take a couple of minutes. And our butter sauce we're going to flavor with 1 clove of garlic. But we're going to wait to add that. We don't want to overcook the garlic. It can sometimes get bitter if you cook it a little bit too long. So we're going to wait until the butter sauce is well on its way. A few minutes have gone by. And the sauce is starting to brown. You can see the solids on the side are getting a little bit brown. And if you were here, you could smell it's getting a little nutty flavored, nutty aroma. We're going to add a little bit of garlic, a clove of garlic, and we're going to turn the heat off. And actually, I'm going to take it off the burner for a little bit. And we're going to cook our ravioli. You should keep a careful eye on this. You don't want it to burn. But our raviolis will only take a short amount of time. Our raviolis have floated to the top. They're done. We're spooning them out. Going to spoon them into our sauce. And serve. We'll sprinkle with a little bit of grated cheese and maybe a little sprig of parsley. And there we go. Meat ravioli with a brown butter sauce. This is Kathy Bechtel with Italiaoutdoors.